What's up, everybody? Welcome back. So, as we move into the new season, which is the season 11 of Go Battle League, I'm going to be showcasing what could potentially be one of the strongest teams moving forward. Basically, a team comp consisting of Araquanid on the lead, with Registeel as the safe swap and Lucario as the closer. Now, this team is obviously reusable across both the Open Great League and in the Remix Cup as well. And this is an ABB line where you're going to be using Registeel as the safe swap to bait out the fighter, the ground type or the fire type, so that Lucario has a pretty clear path to sweep towards endgame. And honestly, I had two 14-game win streaks in the last couple of days in the Open Great League, and I feel like this team could be even better in the Remix Cup simply because of the fact that the top 4 or 5 Pokemon ranked on the PvPoke rankings for the Remix Cup are all going to be weak to fighting, right? Which is why Lucario has so much more play, and also it's pretty highly ranked on PvPoke. It's actually ranked 19, which is pretty exciting. But this team is not perfect. I mean, there are Pokemon like Alolan, Marowak, Unova, Stunfisk, Talonflame, and even G-Fisk and Trevenant, etc., which can give this team a little bit of trouble. But honestly, we were able to go up against all of that and still come out on top there. So there was some really fun battles in here, and let's just get straight into it. Moving into the first battle here, we have Araquanid into an Azumarill. So this is kind of a neutral matchup, but obviously we are not going to be able to hit for anything but resisted damage. So I'm going to actually switch into the Registeel to catch the play rough here. We do have to switch eventually anyways because this is an ABB line and we have to bait out their steel counter, and they actually come in with their Meganium, right? And this makes me think that they don't really have a solid response to a steel type. Or at least I thought so at the time, but Meganium has a decent matchup against Registeel, but it's definitely not a hard counter to it. I'm going to let this go through. We can live in Earthquake, especially given the fact that it doesn't have stab coming from a Meganium. So I'm going to let this go through. They realize that we could get to another Focus Blast, so they throw a move anyways, which is okay. But we have a lot of loaded energy on the Araquanid. I can just come in and go for the Bug Buzz right now, doing super effective damage and pretty much one-shotting the Meganium there, or almost one-shotting it. And they come back with a Azumarill. So this makes me feel like they could have something in the back which is potentially weak to Araquanid. But anyways, I'm going to go for the Bubble Beam. I'm just going straight Bubble Beam in this matchup because I want to force them to switch out. And that's the beautiful thing about Araquanid, is the fact that even in slightly less favorable matchups, or even in like neutral matchups like this one, Araquanid can eventually turn that into a favorable matchup, right? Especially if you can just get Bubble Beam after Bubble Beam off, you're going to eventually force the opponent to switch. But at this point, they're actually not switching out. So I'm just going to switch just to make sure that I can preserve my Araquanid, just in case they have something in the back which is weak to it. And the fact that they're still not switching out tells me that they have something in the back which is weak to both Steel and Bug. They could have a Walrein in the back, but they have an Alolan Marowak. I'm like, why didn't you bring this out against Registeel, right? That's the whole point of running an ABB line, but they probably realized that we have two steel types in the back, and if they did, massive like shoutouts to them. But anyways, at this point, I need to get to a Shadow Ball here, and I'm barely able to get to a Shadow Ball. That is absolutely massive because this is going to one-shot the Alolan Marowak. And then back in comes the Azumarill, but luckily we have a lot of loaded energy on the Araquanid, and I can just go for the Bubble Beam here. The reason I go for the Bubble Beam right away is because now this puts this Araquanid out of Play Rough range, right? Even a Play Rough will not KO. So I can just go for the Bug Buzz right now, even though that's resisted. That does quite a bit of damage, and also we get the defense drop, which is crucial. And as you can see, Play Rough is not going to KO because of that Bubble Beam debuff. And all I need to do at this point is get to a Bubble Beam, which I'm able to do just in time there. And Bubble Beam is going to take out the Azumarill and take the win for us there. Extremely close battle, honestly. But luckily, we were able to pull it off there. Moving into the next one here, we have an Araquanid into a Jirachi. So you don't see too many Jirachis these days. But yeah, it's definitely a pretty interesting pick. But Araquanid has a decent matchup against it because Jirachi has the Psychic subtyping, which is going to take quite a bit of damage from the bug moves, as you see there. And this is just going to be a Doom Desire, which is resisted, and I don't really have to shield this. And I'm just going to count and try and catch the next Doom Desire on the Registeel here. So this is basically going to do very minimum damage. And we managed to waste a little bit of their energy, which is great. And now they come in with their Talonflame. This is exactly what you want, right? You want to bait out their fire type, but Talonflame is definitely a bit of an issue for this team because it is a core breaker. It has the potential to beat all three of my Pokemon. But I'm going to stay in with the Registeel here, and counterintuitively, I'm actually going to shield this. Typically, you want to preserve shields for Lucario. The reason I do this is because our switch timers are slightly misaligned, and I want to basically get off the Zap Cannon because once I do, my switch timer will be back up, and I can switch into the Araquanid and go for the Bubble Beam right away here. So going for the Zap Cannon, basically neutralizing all the buffs they got from Flame Charge. Gonna come back with the Araquanid, going for the Bubble Beam here, and now they're one stage debuffed, right? This is perfect. I'm gonna be able to get to another Bubble Beam here, and they are two stage debuffed at this point, to a point where they cannot go for the Flame Charge, right? Flame Charge will not KO their Araquanid from this range, and they have to go for the Brave Bird. And this is the best thing about this situation, is that I can now come in with Lucario and farm down because they've lowered their defense. They basically switch out to clear out their defense, which is okay. clear out the defense debuff, I should say, and they have an Umbreon in the back, and this is the best case scenario here. I don't really have to shield the thing. I'm really hoping they don't have Psychic, but luckily they just have Last Resort. And in this case, I mean, they probably have Foul Play as well, but both of them is resisted. But I'm going to be able to build up to 100 energy, go for the close combat to take out the Umbreon, and we have a Shadow Ball ready to go, which I can throw at the Talonflame, and that's going to be taking out the Talonflame there. So Talonflame is definitely a little bit of a scary proposition for this team comp, but if you can combo play it, it's definitely something that can be handled. Moving into the next one here, we have an Araquanid into a Scrafty. Now Scrafty is a Pokemon, I mean, if you see it, you definitely want to see it on the lead, because obviously my backline definitely does not want to run into a Scrafty here. They actually go for the Power Up Punch Shield Bait, which ends up working out perfectly. And I'm not going to bait, I'm just going to go straight for the Bug Buzz here. This is going to do massive neutral damage, and it lands, which is great. I really need to get the damage on the Scrafty. And I'm actually going to shield this because this is a boosted Foul Play. And I need to keep my Araquanid healthy as long as the Scrafty is still there, right? I mean, I need to use the Araquanid to get rid of the Scrafty. And I'm going to bait with Bubble Beam this time. They don't shield, which is unfortunate. So I'm going to try and get to the next Bubble Beam. Unfortunately, we lose CMP there. That's okay. I'm going to let this go through here. They bait with Power Up Punch, so I know they can't get to another move, so I'm going to fully undercharge this Bubble Beam, and I should be able to farm down with Infestation here. So we're going to be able to completely farm it down and have a lot of loaded energy, and they actually come in with their Trevenant. Now Trevenant is another core breaker for this team comp, so I'm going to stay in with Araquanid and go for the Bubble Beam Shield Bait. We get a shield. That is absolutely massive. I'm going to definitely shield this because, like I said, my backline does not want to see a Trevenant either, and I'm going for the Bug Buzz right now. I absolutely need this Bug Buzz to land, really hoping that we can land it, and we land that for some massive neutral damage, which is great. And now I'm going to switch into my Registeel to tank this move here. It is a debuffed Shadow Ball, doesn't do too much damage, and they make a switch into their Galarian Stunfisk. Now this could be slightly tricky, but they actually throw right away, which is just going to be a Rock Slide here, which is great. They're probably looking to just go Rock Slides and farm down, I guess, but that's fine too. I'm going for the Focus Blast here. They actually let that go through, and this gives me a win condition because Lucario could just now counter farm this thing down, and they were trying to farm down the Registeel all the way down, but then Registeel is way too tanky. I'm able to get off another Focus Blast here, and they're going to go for a move, right? They probably capped at 100 energy, and they're going to go for a move right now. This is going to be a Rock Slide, and my thinking here is I'm hoping that I can come in with Lucario and counter down before they can get to a move. They get to a move, I'm like, please don't be Earthquake, and it's just a Rock Slide. Luckily, that is double resisted, and then I'm going to be able to counter down the Trevenant and then go for a Power Up Punch against the Galarian Stunfisk there. So this is actually one of the two battles in between where I actually switched it up to Power Up Punch. I did run Close Combat for most of the battles. You can run either of Close Combat or Power Up Punch depending on the coverage, but I do prefer Close Combat overall just for that one-shot potential towards the end game there. Moving into the next one here, we have Araquanid into a Shadow Alolan Marowak. Now, like I said, Alolan Marowak is also another core breaker for this team. Obviously, the Shadow variant is much more stronger, but I'm actually going to shield the first Shadow Bone, right? Because like I said, I need to preserve their Araquanid for as long as Alolan Marowak is there, because I don't want either of my Registeel or Lucario to go up against it. Now, because we got their attack dropped by 2 stages, I don't really have to shield this Shadow Bone. I can let this go through. Doesn't do too much damage. And I'm going to try and go for another Bubble Beam here, but they make a really nice switch to catch on their Vigoroth. Now, just as well that we threw this Bubble Beam, because now I can come in with Lucario and we're only taking debuffed counter damage. And I'm going to go for the Power Up Punch to hopefully KO this Vigoroth, but it doesn't quite KO. So in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have thrown the Power Up Punch. I probably could have farmed it all the way down so that I could have had a Shadow Ball while coming out of this matchup. But unfortunately, Alolan Marowak comes back in. I'm not going to be able to get to a Shadow Ball, so I'm just going to go for the Power Up Punch to do some chip damage here. But any chip damage is crucial because I need this Alolan Marowak out of here as soon as possible. Gonna come back with Araquanid. I have to shield this. I'm trying to get to a Bubble Beam here, but unfortunately we lag just a little bit, and I'm really hoping this is not a Shadow Bone, right? They don't have enough energy for a Shadow Bone. It is just a Bone Club which is resisted. I'm gonna be able to get off this Bubble Beam right now, and they no shield that. And they have an A9 in the back. The one Pokemon that Registeel could have beaten, even with the 2 shield deficit, is an Alolan Ninetales, and this is absolutely perfect. And on top of the fact that we're going to be able to debuff with Zap Cannon as well, and this Registeel is just way too tanky for A9 to even come out of this matchup. Even if they have like a 2 shield advantage, there's no way A9 is winning this matchup there. So luckily we were able to take the win. So moving into the next one here, we have Araquanid into a Jellicent. Not the best lead here, immediately switching into the Registeel. Honestly, I'm really glad that they're staying in, because Registeel, if you think about it, is my only real response to a Jellicent, because even Lucario doesn't have a great matchup against it. But they are staying in. They're just going for the Bubble Beam debuffs, and I'm fine with that. I choose to not throw right away because just in case they caught the Zap Cannon on something else, but they are staying in, which is great. Tells me that they probably don't have a solid response to a Steel type, which is good news for Lucario. So anyways, moving, they're going for just straight for Bubble Beams, which I don't really have to worry about here. We are like probably 3-stage debuffed right now, but still Zap Cannon does about 50% of Jellicent's health, right? And the good thing about this matchup is that because we've debuffed them by 2 stages, Shadow Ball will not KO from this range. And if they want to win switch advantage, they have to give up 2 shields here. So we're either going to win switch and a 1 shield advantage, or we're going to win 2 shield advantage. They actually let that go through. We win switch and shield advantage, which is perfect. And they have an Azumarill in the back. So I'm not going to throw the Zap Cannon. I'm actually going to almost build up to it and then switch, because I don't want to throw a debuffed Zap Cannon on an Azumarill. But anyways, we're going to tank the play rough comfortably here, and they have an Ariados in the back. And this is absolutely perfect. Lucario completely walls Ariados as well, because both bug and poison moves are double resisted. Araquanid, okay, doesn't have a great matchup against Ariados, but you can still chip away with Bubble Beams here, basically just continuously debuffing them. And yeah, we got like 2 debuffs off right now, so the next lunge or cross poison will not do too much damage. So I'm going to let this go through here. It is a cross poison. They're probably looking for an attack boost to probably bring their attack back up to normal. But again, Araquanid is just so extremely tanky that I'm going to be able to survive the cross poison with 1 HP, bank a Bug Buzz, switch into the Lucario here, and they come in with their Azumarill. Now I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball, really hoping that this lands, and it lands for some massive damage. And this is where Lucario is absolutely insane in terms of its attack stat, right? I'm going to be able to counter down this Azumarill in spite of that being resisted. You can see how much counter is doing. Yes, I'm going to have to 2 shield. That is absolutely fine. I don't really have to preserve any shields for the Ariados matchup, because like I just mentioned earlier, there's nothing they can do against Lucario. So we have almost 100 energy right now, so I'm going to be able to go for a close combat here. And this is going to get the shield from the Ariados. And now I can go for the Shadow Ball, and this will one-shot the Ariados and take the win for us there. So we still had almost a move on Registeel. We had a Bug Buzz banked on Araquanid, so we were comfortable there for the most part. Moving into the next one here, we have Araquanid into a Walrein. Now, this is the absolute dream lead. I mean, Walrein honestly has absolutely no play against this entire team. Yes, it does have access to Earthquake, but which can threaten the backline, but there's nothing they can do against Araquanid. They throw the Earthquake, that just barely does no damage there, and they make a switch into Umbreon. Now, Umbreon is another Pokemon which also doesn't have too much play against this team. I could have probably stayed in with Araquanid and thrown the Bug Buzz, but I choose to come in with Lucario because I can just farm and get so far ahead on energy, right? We're going to let this go through as well. It is a foul play, still does quite a bit of damage in spite of being resisted. I'm going to build up to 2 close combats and go for the first one here. And whatever comes out next, I'm just going to blind throw the close combat because Lucario is extremely low. And I don't expect the Walrein to come back in. They're probably going to come back with their third Pokemon, which is a Talonflame. I'm just going to go for the close combat here. And it gets the shield, which is even better because we have so much energy on Araquanid. And that's the benefit of storing all that energy and switching out, is because I can just continuously spam these Bubble Beams, right? Doing super effective damage, not too much, but definitely chipping away and also lowering their attack. And they are forced to switch out to clear the debuff. And we can just come in with Registeel here. Now, even though Araquanid has a better matchup against Walrein than Registeel does, I do want to preserve my Araquanid for the Talonflame as well. And thankfully, I correctly shield the Earthquake. Initially I thought they would probably wait, but they go straight for the Earthquake. I go for the Zap Cannon to get the debuff. And at this point, there's no incentive for them to bait because they are debuffed. They're probably going to go for the Earthquake. And the reason I shield the Earthquake is because I feel like Earthquake obviously still does more damage than a Flame Charge. So might as well shield the harder hitting move. And here I make a bit of a misplay. I go for the Zap Cannon. I should have gone for Focus Blast because there's no point trying to get a debuff off when we were going to KO them anyways. And this is slightly tricky, right? Talonflame comes in, gets off a Flame Charge, and we defer the Incinerate onto the Araquanid. I'm going to go for the Bubble Beam here to neutralize the Flame Charge buff. And they have to go for a Brave Bird once again to KO here. And if they go for the Brave Bird, hopefully, yeah, they do go for the Brave Bird. And we're able to get to the Zap Cannon in the middle of the Incinerate there. So the Incinerate didn't register yet. And Zap Cannon is going to be able to take out the Talonflame there. So extremely close, heart in the mouth stuff. But yeah, luckily we were able to take the win there. Moving into the next one here, we have Araquanid into a Scrafty. Once again, like I said, you'd want to see Scrafty on the lead. This is a pretty solid matchup for the Araquanid. And I'm not going to shield the first one. I'm only going to shield if they've boosted up their foul play. This is obviously a non-boosted foul play. And they make a switch into their Emolga. I'm going to go for the Bubble Beam debuff and then switch into the Registeel here. This is kind of a neutral matchup for Registeel, obviously. But getting off that Bubble Beam debuff is going to make it so much more favorable. So I'm going to be firing off the Zap Cannon here. They are going to get to another discharge, which is okay as well. Because, yeah, there's no way they're winning this matchup in the Zero Shield, right? Especially once we got the debuff off. I'm going to go for the Zap Cannon here. And Zap Cannon gets the shield from the Emolga, which is completely okay as well. And they're going to go for another move. They're going to need like 2 discharges to KO from this range. and I should be able to get to another Zap Cannon. And this is either going to get their second shield or we're going to win switch advantage, either of which is okay, right? Lucario does really well with a 2 shield advantage towards endgame. They decide to give up both shields. I'm not going to shield the Registeel. We're going to let it go through. And then we're going to come in with Lucario and counter farm down a flying type. This is again, like I said, where Lucario can be absolutely devastating. And also when you're running double nuke movesets and when they have no shields in the back, this is where it can come in clutch. They make a switch into their Scrafty. We know what happens. Going for the close combat, one shots the Scrafty there. They come back with their Emolga. We're going to try and counter farm this thing all the way down. And they have a Bastiodon in the back. Couldn't have asked for anything better, honestly. Just going to go for the close combat here. And this close combat, yeah, it is just going to make the Bastiodon regret its existence there. Moving into the next one here, we have an Araquanid into a Skarmory. This is a really tricky lead. Immediately switching into the Lucario. I don't want to switch into my Registeel because the Registeel is the harder counter and they have a Toxicroak. Now Toxicroak can also be an absolute core breaker for this team. I go for the Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, they're going to be able to farm all the way down here. And I have to come back with Araquanid, right? Even Araquanid honestly doesn't have a great matchup against Toxicroak. They actually blind through the Mud Bomb, which is great. But because these bug moves are double resisted, right? Because of the fighting poison typing, the only thing I can go for is Bubble Beam. The good thing is, again, Araquanid is just so bulky and we're going to be able to get off Bubble Beam after Bubble Beam. And like I said, even in unfavorable matchups, Araquanid can eventually turn it into a favorable matchup. And for some reason, my opponent is just throwing Mud Bombs. Probably they're not familiar with the typing on Araquanid. You definitely want to be going for Sludge Bomb with this matchup unless they're running Dynamic Punch and Mud Bomb, which could be a pretty interesting moveset, but I feel like obviously Toxicroak definitely needs Sludge Bomb for that coverage. Anyways, going for another Bubble Beam. As you can see, Araquanid is definitely able to hold its own here because of that Bubble Beam debuff, and this Mud Bomb is absolutely going to do no damage. And because they've been so debuffed, I'm going to come in with my Registeel and farm this thing all the way down. We just want to get ahead on energy here. And let's see what they have in the back. They have an Azumarill in the back. So they basically have an Azumarill and a Skarmory with no shields against a loaded Registeel with 2 shields. We know how this matchup is going to go, right? I mean, it's just, yeah, it's pretty much game over at this point. I'm just going to shield this up. I didn't even count, to be honest, because the only move remaining in the field of play that is going to do neutral damage is going to be a Hydro Pump from the Azumarill. Because Skarmory has no play against Registeel, so going to go for the Zap Cannon here, taking on the Azumarill. And yeah, they're still staying in, trying to play it out. But yeah, this game is over a long time ago. Anyways, going for the Zap Cannon here. Zap Cannon will one-shot the Skarmory, and that's going to take the win for us there. ABB working like a charm for sure. I think, you know, in Skarmory leads, you can definitely afford to switch into the Lucario because you don't want to switch out into Registeel. So we met with the Nidoking here. It's pretty interesting. I think you'll see a few more Nidokings in the remix because Nidoqueen is obviously banned. And the good thing about Nidoking is that for Araquanid, both those charge moves are resisted, right? So the only thing they can hit for neutral is with their fast move. They actually shield the Bubble Beam as well, which is great. And they have a Togekiss. We can switch into the Registeel here. And yeah, they decide to throw in the towel there. I mean, again, Togekiss, you don't see too many of that in the Great League, but it was definitely an interesting pick. So this is like one of the 5-0 sets that I had in the 14-game win streak. So moving into the second set of battles here, we have an Araquanid into a Charm A9. Now A9, this team is ABA weak to A9. So I'm actually, my play here is to stay in and then yeah, we're going to soak up a Weather Ball and then I'm going to try and go for a Bubble Beam here. I'm going to try and go for back-to-back Bubble Beams and then I'm going to actually save switch into my Lucario. The reason I go for the Bubble Beam is because I want to make sure that my Lucario doesn't take too much damage from Charm. I obviously cannot switch into my Registeel because that's the hard counter and they almost for sure have an anti-steal in the back, right? And I need to really bait it out here. They're actually still staying in, which is great. We're still taking quite a bit of damage from Charm, but the good thing is we're going to be able to farm all the way down and come out of this matchup with a lot of energy. Again, Lucario with an energy advantage is absolutely devastating because out comes Swampert, close combat, almost one-shots the Swampert there. That is ridiculous. Able to get the second close combat and get their final shield. This is perfect because I can come in with my Araquanid and farm down with Infestation. And yeah, this game is pretty much over because we still have a shield advantage and hopefully Registeel can clean up whatever is in the back there. They're going to go for a Hydro Cannon here. This is not, I knew that it was not enough for a Sludge Wave and we farm down and they have their own Registeel in the back and this game is over. This is where having that energy advantage on Araquanid towards endgame can be really useful because by getting off those Bubble Beams, you're going to basically make their final Pokemon pretty much useless because they can't even switch out of this matchup. And we're going to debuff their attack by 2 stages and come in with my Registeel and you're going to see how little Focus Blast is going to do right now, right? It is 2-stage debuff, doesn't even do 50% of Registeel's health and they are still staying in trying to play it out, but yeah, this game is over again. So going for the Focus Blast here, and near one-shots the Registeel and they decide to concede the match there. And like I said, again, Araquanid, just having that stored energy towards endgame can be really useful in a lot of situations. So we are met with the Cloyster, another Pokemon which has absolutely no play against this entire team. I absolutely love Cloyster. I mean, I think it's a really cool Pokemon, but obviously there are much better Ice Water types out there. Obviously, Walrein, Dugong, Lapras are all significantly better than Cloyster. I still did decide to switch into the Registeel because I needed to bait out their counter user. So it's a good thing they actually came in with their defense form Deoxys, because Lucario does not want to go up against a defense Deoxys. But we get the Zap Cannon debuff off, which is great. And they're not even running Thunderbolt, which makes this matchup even better for Registeel, because I'm going to be able to get to a Zap Cannon here. And they already showed that they don't have Thunderbolt, so there's probably going to be a Rock Slide. Is a Psycho Boost. That's even better because their attack has been 2-stage debuffed right now. And Zap Cannon will definitely KO from this range. So we're able to win switch advantage right now. They come into their Alolan Muck and this game is over because Lucario completely walls Alolan Muck, right? Because Dark Pulse, Sludge Wave, everything is resisted. But I'm going to come in with my Araquanid just to pressure some shields from Alolan Muck, because Lucario is going to be able to sweep both Cloyster and Muck in the back. Going for the Bug Buzz here to try and do as much damage as I can. Trying to go for another Bug Buzz here. Actually, we get a shield, which is perfect. And Bug Buzz is going to do so much damage. It does massive neutral damage. And I'm just going to wait for them to throw a move, because even though Dark Pulse is resisted on Lucario, Lucario is pretty glassy, so I don't want to tank any moves on it. And out comes Cloyster and this game is over. This is just going to be an icy win. I don't really have to shield this. And yeah, they decide to concede the match there. Moving on to the next one here, we have Araquanid into a Unova Stunfisk. Now this thing also has the potential to beat this entire team, but they make a switch into their Skarmory. Now this gives me a win condition. Probably they have an ABB line as well. I'm assuming that they probably switched into their Skarmory to bait out their anti-flyer, so that whatever they have in the back can sweep, but we're going to have to wait and see what they have in the back. So I'm going to go for a Zap Cannon here, and Zap Cannon does big damage onto the Scrafty, and we're going to be able to farm Skarmory, I should say. We're going to be able to farm down the Skarmory, and then they go for a Brave Bird. It doesn't really matter what they go for. This is such a solid matchup for the Registeel, and then I'm going to be able to farm this thing all the way down right now, and they're most likely going to come back with their Unova Stunfisk, and this is where that energy lead is going to come in super clutch. I'm going to be able to get off this Focus Blast here. It gets the shield as well, and I honestly would have preferred that to land, because again, like I said, this thing breaks apart my entire team here. So going for the Mud Bomb there, that's okay. I'm not able to get to a Focus Blast because they sniped with Sableye. I'm going to have to come in with my Araquanid because Lucario doesn't have a great matchup against Sableye either. So I'm going for the Bug Buzz right away here because we have shield advantage. So, I mean, might as well go for the nuke move straight up. But they go for the Foul Play, which is fine. I'm going to try and get to a Bubble Beam because I know Sableye can get to another Foul Play in time. Unfortunately, we lose CMP on the Bubble Beam. That's okay. I'm going to let this go through here. Unfortunately, it KOs. So I'm going to come into my Lucario and farm down. A counter is single resisted. I'm hoping I can farm down, but they get to a Foul Play. I have to shield this because Lucario is so extremely glassy. And this puts me in a really tricky spot, right? Because I have to shield this Mud Bomb. We are definitely in Mud Bomb range because, again, Lucario really cannot tank a move. And especially a super effective move, there's no way Lucario can tank that. So I'm going to build up to the close combat here and going for the first one. Gets the shield from the Unova Stunfisk. Going for the second close combat. Now will this KO the Stunfisk here? It almost KOs, but it doesn't quite take it out. But I'm able to counter down, and that's going to take the win. They're probably like very, very close to a move there. But again, another heart in the mouth game, but luckily we were able to pull it off once again there. Moving into the final battle of the video, we are met with a Galarian Stunfisk this time. Not the best lead, so I'm going to switch into the Registeel to catch the Rock Slide here, which is obviously resisted. Luckily, we managed to waste a bit of their energy, and they come in with their Obstagoon here. So now this is fine, this is okay. We are at least going to be able to get a shield from Obstagoon, but they get the boost. And at this point, I know they're going to shield. I'm just going to go for the Zap Cannon here just to neutralize the buff they got from Night Slash. Obviously, Night Slash gives you a 2-stage boost. So getting off the Zap Cannon is obviously going to lower their attack by 1 stage, which means that they're still boosted by 1 stage, which is okay. Because Araquanid is going to be able to comfortably tank this and go for the Bug Buzz right away here. This is going to do massive super effective damage because of the dark typing on the Obstagoon. We're going to be able to farm down. They have a Skarmory in the back. This is where it gets really tricky, and they come into their Galarian Stunfisk. And my only win condition here is I need to farm this thing all the way down. I'm going to call the Rock Slide Shield Bait. It is double resisted. These Mud Shots are really adding up though, but I'm going to commit to the complete farm down here. I'm going to shield this up, and then hopefully we can come out of this matchup with 2 close combats. I mean, we already have 2 close combats here, but I need to get off both of these, right? That's my only win condition here. Going for the first close combat onto the Skarmory right now, gets the shield, able to get the second close combat. This is going to do massive damage against the Skarmory, and then hopefully I can switch into my Araquanid, but my switch timer is not back up yet, but I'm hoping I can get off a Bubble Beam. I'm able to get to this Bubble Beam. Now, this is obviously going to debuff the Skarmory, and also we have a shield advantage as well, right? And all I need to do is go for a Bubble Beam here. They are going to get to a move. We managed to sneak an Infestation through, which means that we are at a Bubble Beam right now, and hopefully they don't have back-to-back Sky attacks, and Araquanid barely able to get to this Bubble Beam, and this will be taking out the Skarmory, and that's going to take the win for us there. So Araquanid, Skarmory counter confirmed. I mean, just kidding. I mean, honestly, that's the thing with Araquanid. Like I said, even in unfavorable matchups with Bubble Beam debuffs, you're going to be able to, it's going to be able to hold its own in most of the matchups there. So again, another 5-0 set to finish. Like I said, this team is absolutely insane. It's a team that I would highly recommend trying out. I'm going to definitely try and get a video out for Remix Cup tomorrow with the same team comp. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you do like this video, leave a like and subscribe as well if you haven't already, if you want to. It really helps the channel. And if you made it this far into the video, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.